Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, America's #1 small business expert. And I'm so excited to welcome you to another episode of the SmallBizChat podcast. Tonight's show is really a good one. We're going to be talking about how to handle a remote workforce. And if you're interested in writing a book, I'm going to talk to an expert who's going to tell you how that might be good for business. And if you're looking for a great resource to boost your business skills, we have an expert business owner here who's ready to share some of her best free resources. We're going to speak with a serial entrepreneur about the do's and don'ts of managing a remote team. I also have a book whisperer here, and she is going to explain to us the pros and cons of self-publishing or seeking a traditional book deal. And we have a female business owner who has reinvented her business through free business training. Now, here on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we talk about how to start and grow a successful small business. My guests have amazing insight to share, and they will give you sage advice from multiple angles. The Small Biz Chat broadcast can be seen live on my Small Biz Chat Facebook page and my YouTube channel. And please make sure that you leave us a comment if you hear something that's great, or if you have a topic you want us to tackle on a future show. Now, today's guests are Liam Martin. He's the co-founder of Time Doctor and the author of a new book called Running Remote. I also have with us the founder of the Nonfiction Writers Association, Stephanie Chandler, who is a serial book author herself. And we're here with Bridget Brown, who is owner of Pages and Post, a digital design agency based in Birmingham, Alabama. I am excited to learn about all of them. So now it is time for me to introduce my first guest, Liam Martin. He's a serial entrepreneur who's the co-founder of Time Doctor and .com and Staff.com. He's also the co-organizer of the world's largest remote work conference, Running Remote, which actually that is the title of his new book, Running Remote. And Liam is also an avid proponent of remote work and has been published in Forbes, Inc., Mashable, TechCrunch, Fast Company, Wired, The Wall Street Journal, and many others, really specifically talking about the expansion of remote work. Liam is all about empowering workers to work wherever they want, whenever they want, and he's the author of the new book, Running Remote. And so if you're interested in his book, go to runningremote.com. Liam, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Melinda.
So tell me, how in the world did you get started in business? I mean, you kind of still look like you have that kind of Doogie Howser thing going on. So like, what,
Thank you very much, Melinda.
How did you get started in business, and how old were you? Like when you got the idea for TimeDoctor.com?
So actually, my business partner got the initial idea for TimeDoctor.com. He's actually a medical doctor. So we called it Time Doctor. He was a medical doctor, and now he's switching to Time. So we ended up running with Time Doctor, which is a pretty good name. And we've been working on that for about 11 years now. But before that, actually, I was running another remote business, which was actually an online tutoring company. And I've been working remotely since 2007. I think that makes me one of the oldest remote workers on the block.
Oh, wow. So you're an OG, huh? Okay. So
absolutely.
So both Time Doctor and Staff.com, your first companies, were really focused on time tracking and productivity. Like, is that a personal interest of yours? Like, how did you get into that business?
I am the most unproductive person on the face of the planet. And I built a tool specifically to be able to try to solve that. So for me, I could never really, and again, it's these entrepreneurial people that are probably watching your podcast right now. They're the same type of mindset. They can't actually figure out what they should do, but they know they should be doing something. And I was like that. So I needed to be able to make sure that there was something that could keep me accountable throughout my workday. And I used Time Doctor to be able to do it. So it basically lists all of the tasks that I need to do before my workday starts. I go through all those tasks. It figures out exactly how long it took me to accomplish those. And then long-term, I can actually look on the return on investment that I'm getting with putting my time into email versus maybe delegating it, as an example.
Love it. Love it. All right. So let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk to you about the future of work. will employers be able to force people to come back to the office, or is remote work and hybrid work, like, is this here to stay?
So a lot of employers are trying to do it right now, and there's a lot of resistance that's ending up coming up. Just to kind of pull back a second, February of 2020, 4% of the US workforce was working remotely. By March, 45% of the US workforce was working remotely. Another really interesting statistic is at that same time, people that made $100,000 per year, 75% of that population was working remotely. So not only do the good jobs go remote, but almost half of the United States was working remotely. Today, we're floating around 30% of the US workforce working remotely. And as we're moving from pandemic to endemic, I think essentially we're going to basically fit pretty much at that 30% mark. And then, at least in my eyes and a lot of other researchers' eyes, we're probably going to see a projection back up to 50% within the next 3 to 4 years.
Interesting. So, I know that you have some real specific views about remote work. So what is it that you think that people got wrong about, with remote work during the pandemic?
So in researching for my book, Running Remote, I studied about a dozen billion-dollar plus remote first companies that were remote before the pandemic. And the one thing that I found that they did differently from everyone else is they actually recognize that you need to manage remote workers differently. It's a concept that I talk about called asynchronous management, which I know is quite alien to a lot of people, but effectively, this is building a business without actually interacting with other coworkers face to face. So as an example, my personal assistant, the person that actually booked our chat together, I've worked with her for 6 years and we work every single day together. We have met in person and on video 5 times over that 6-year period. She has the autonomy to do what she needs to do, and I have the autonomy to do what I need to do inside of the organization. Effectively, managers cease to be the people that manage, and the platform is what manages organizations.
Interesting. So do you believe that employers should just give everybody the choice where they work?
I think that that's not really actually up to employers, to be completely honest with you. As we're seeing the transition from pandemic to endemic, we're seeing a lot of those best people, right? The 20% of your team that you really know secretly is doing 80% of the work. Those are the people that can get another job tomorrow. We're at 2.5% effective unemployment in the United States. Those people are going to not just ask for remote work as an employee perk. It's effectively stable takes at this point. And you need to be able to adapt to that new reality or effectively get left behind.
Well, so what are the benefits of a remote workforce for a small business in particular?
So the biggest thing that I can really kind of explain for people that are thinking about moving either to a remote or hybrid model or sticking with an in-office model is the second largest cost on your P&L is your office space. Number one. Number two, remote workers that work from home, almost every study that I've seen anyways, has shown they are as productive or more productive than their in-office counterparts. And third is people love to work remotely. 77% of people that work in the United States right now, if given the choice, would work remotely. So to me, it's really, you're getting so many advantages for remote work without any of the disadvantages of the office doldrum. I don't know if you go into an office every day, but that 90-minute commute every single day into the office, people and allow them to sleep during that time and not actually get any more work done, they would be way more productive.
That's interesting. So one of the things that I've read online is that anyone who wants to implement remote work really should analyze their office communication practices. Because it seems to me that it's easy for somebody who's not in the office to not hear something they need to know. Is that your thought as well?
Yeah, I think during the pandemic, what ended up happening is people were just recreating the office. And unfortunately, they turned working from home into living at work. And you have to recognize that remote work is different. So the documentation of all of those conversations, you can actually digitize those now. If you're on a Zoom call, as an example, you can record that information. You can share it with other people. You can dictate that information. You can use project management systems. So everything is available to everyone. We actually believe that effectively, everyone should have the same informational advantage as the CEO of the company. And with technology today, you can actually accomplish that. And you can empower everyone in your company to actually be as informationally savvy as the CEO so that they can make the best decisions inside of the company.
Interesting. Well, what is the one thing that people should do today to get better at managing their remote teams?
So personally, I think that implementing asynchronous management is the biggest thing that you need to do to get good at managing remote employees. So when you think about asynchronous management, it is fundamentally trying to figure out all of the organization's processes, systems, the way that you communicate. All of that information needs to be digitized and on a platform. So the manager no longer becomes the person that's actually doing the work, but the actual platform of the organization is what is doing the actual management day in, day out, so that people in the organization can focus on bigger and better problems.
So what type of software are we talking about? Are we talking about everything's held in Slack? Is it some kind of CRM system? What are the systems that you think people should be using?
So I go into a lot of the remote technology stack. So effectively a project management system, a communication system, a way to be able to communicate email and messages back to people. So that would be like Gmail, Slack, Basecamp, Trello, Asana, Jira, Zoom. These are the tools that you need. These are effectively your new office when you really think about it. And if you actually do that type of transition, then your people are going to be a lot happier for it.
Now, when it comes to helping your remote workers get set up, do you believe that BYOD, bring your own device thing still holds, or do we need to be sending laptops to everybody on the team so that everyone has the same level of equipment?
So I think the biggest thing is meet them. So do they want new devices? Do they actually want to work from their personal devices? Or is there a security issue that you need to take into consideration? So for us, as an example, we deliver all of our own equipment to our employees to be able to make sure that we secure those systems. If that person ends up leaving the company, we take back that laptop. That's a single point of failure for the organization. But if you're really just getting started out, a lot of remote workers actually prefer to work on their personal devices because they'll jump onto Facebook and they'll jump onto YouTube and stuff like that throughout their workday. And that's actually fine. It's okay for them to do that because we see day in, day out that actually improves people's productivity. It doesn't slow them down.
That's interesting. Well, up next on the SmallBizChat podcast, we're going to talk more about remote work with Liam Markin. I am Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and we will be right back. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I want to welcome you to Small Biz Lady University. Our mission here is to end small business failure. So all of the courses here are about two things: how to become your own boss or how to make money online. So that's what we do here. So whether you want to learn about email marketing and sales funnels, or you're ready to get started with social media selling, or if you're really just getting started with e-commerce, you might want to jump into our How to Sell and Market Online course. Either way, if you want to learn how to become your own boss and do it well, I have everything you need here at smallbizladyuniversity.com. If you have any questions or have any technical problems getting signed up, just email us at support@melindaemerson.com. Take care. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast live. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host, and I'm so excited to be talking to you today about remote work and what we all need to know to help our employees be more effective in the workplace. All right, Liam, let's talk about what are some of your best tactics to onboard a remote worker?
The first thing that you need to do is make sure that they've got a good working environment. I always talk about dividing people's workspace from their social space. So they've got a quiet place at even their kitchen table. I'd prefer their own private office, but if they don't have that, get them a quiet space, get them a committed space, get their own equipment in there, and then really work on their onboarding. So what information do they need from you in order for you to not necessarily be a barrier towards them achieving their best work? When you work remotely, creating meetings with other individuals when you're, either a block away or 10,000 miles away is very difficult. So having all that information available to them from the get-go is really critical for them to be onboarded properly.
Now, one of the things that a lot of people did during the pandemic was I just heard these stories about managers implementing these 15-minute stand-up meetings, kind of just to see everybody's face every day, make sure people were actually, at their computer kind of thing. What is your thought about that? Is that effective?
To me, I don't necessarily think that that's incredibly effective. And again, people can manage the way that they want to. But as I had said before, this is turning working from home into living at work. And it's really important to be able to make sure that if you have a safe environment for all of your workers, because there are actually some interesting legal cases of people that end up tripping and falling in their garages and sue their employer because they don't have a safe working environment. So you need to be mindful of those types of things. But if you've gone past all of that from a legal perspective, to me, these 15-minute meetings don't work. They are fundamentally a distraction and basically pulling people away from doing deep work.
All right. Well, what is the best business advice you have ever gotten?
Well, to me, that was probably about 17 years ago when a friend of mine said, maybe you should try this remote work thing out. It only took about 15 years before remote work really became a big thing. But now today, it's one of those things that it's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. And if you don't actually adapt to that and recognize that remote work is the future of the way that people are going to work, you're going to get left behind.
Thanks so much, Liam. I really appreciate your valuable insight about remote work. Up next, we're going to be talking about how to publish your first book with expert Stephanie Chandler. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and you're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we will be right back. Are you ready to become a boss? Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady. Click the button below and take my free boss quiz. This assessment will help you learn your entrepreneur type and find the right business model for you. Get this information about the number one asset in your business. Yeah, that's you. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I am so excited to talk to my next guest, Stephanie Chandler. She's the author of several books, including the nonfiction book publishing plan. And she's also the CEO of the Nonfiction Authors Association, a vibrant community of writers. And she's the creator of the Nonfiction Writers Conference, a live event conducted entirely online since 2010. She is a frequent speaker at business events and on the radio, and she's been featured in Entrepreneur Business Week, The Writer, Writer's Digest, and Wired Magazine. And quiet as is kept, she's also one of my very, very good friends. So Stephanie, thank you so much for being here tonight on the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Hey, Melinda, always fun to chat with you.
All right, you got to tell my audience your origin story. How did you become the book whisperer? How did you become so knowledgeable about the book business?
It's a twisty, turny path. I'm a Silicon Valley refugee. I left in 2003, opened a bookstore, thought I'd write novels, found out I was a terrible novelist. In the meantime, I was blogging before blogging was a thing. I was advising business people. That's how you and I met, kind of in the same circle with small business. And I had all these people coming to me saying, how do I get my book done? Well, I had self-published. I've been traditionally published. And then I started speaking at writers' conferences. And I was looking around going, why isn't anybody talking to those of us who write nonfiction? I mean, there was one conference where I spoke. There were 300 attendees. I was the only one there who wrote a business book. And I thought, this is weird. Where are my people? So I started a conference in 2010, the Nonfiction Writers Conference, had no idea if anybody would attend, but they did. And they came back year after year. And then they kept saying, how do we keep in touch when this is over? And that led to starting the Nonfiction Authors Association in 2013. So I kind of listened to my audience and found my path unfolding before me, really.
Well, that's really interesting. You looked around and said, where are my people at? I think that's fascinating. But, I think people who convene things, learn a lot of very valuable information. And with that, I want to ask you, what is the number one question that someone should ask themselves before writing a book?
I think it's a two-parter. It's who is my audience and why are they going to care about this book? And so many new writers miss this point. If you're not thinking about an audience and how your book is going to benefit them in some way, and I'm talking about nonfiction, then you're going to miss the mark. So it's really important to get clear about your audience. What are their challenges? What are their needs? What are their interests? And how do you meet those needs, challenges, and interests? Otherwise, your book is just going to get lost in the sea because there's so much competition today.
Oh yeah, or you're going to end up with 5,000 copies in your garage. That's the other thing that can happen to you. So, let's talk about this traditional book deals. Like, can people still get them? I mean, I know my book is published by Simon & Schuster. I also have a book that was self-published, but I get people all the time. Well, how can I get a deal with Simon & Schuster? I said, look, I don't even know how I got my deal. And my book has been in print for 11 years. So don't ask me that question because I can't answer it, but you can. So are traditional book deals still attainable for people?
They are, but they're certainly harder to get than they used to be. I mean, the number one thing is if you want a traditional book publisher deal, you need to have an audience. They want authors that are coming to them with a built-in audience that are going to ensure that books are going to sell. So if you have a large following on social media, a large mailing list, high traffic website, any of those things, large podcast listenership, that makes you appealing to traditional publishers. But you also just can't call up Simon & Schuster and say, hey, take my book. They will only deal with literary agents. So Melinda, your deal was really special because they came to you, and that can happen too as you're building your platform. I mean, I've had countless opportunities come my way over the years. So I think it's good incentive to do the work of marketing and building our presence online because it does open up all kinds of opportunities.
All right, so let's talk about the downsides of traditional publishing. I mean, I don't want to throw my publisher on the bus, so I'm gonna let you tell it. But let's talk about, the rough side of traditional publishing.
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions around this. And, mind you, I am traditionally published multiple books, and I got really turned off by traditional publishing for several reasons. Number one, you lose all control. So if you're a type A control freak like me, that's really hard to give up. I had a publisher call and say, we want you to remove a chapter from the book. We don't care which one. We're trying to cut costs. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. They can change your title. They can give you a cover you don't like. And by the way, they're only going to pay you about $1 a book. I mean, the royalties are pitiful. So I think there's a lot of downsides to traditional publishing, and self-publishing is easier than it's ever been. It's so accessible. And by the way, people aren't buying books in bookstores the way they used to be. I mean, former bookstore owner here, I wish they were, but Amazon just announced they're closing all their brick and mortar bookstores. Bookstores are not where sales are happening. They're happening online. So you can reach online buyers with self-publishing.
All right, so let's talk about self-publishing. When I hear people talk about it, it's like Amazon publishing versus Ingram Spark. Like what? Like I know you must hear about this constantly, and I don't have any experience with either one, so I don't have a dog in the fight or an opinion to give. But can you share with me, some best practices when you're considering what to do?
Yeah. So, I mean, true self-publishing means that you establish a publishing company, you register it as a business, or create a DBA under your existing business. It involves registering ISBN numbers, the little number that goes on the back of the book. It involves hiring multiple editors, your typesetter, your ebook formatter, your cover designer, perhaps an indexer. There's a lot more to publishing a book than people realize. So that is true self-publishing. And then you have to pick your printer. Print on demand is very popular today because instead of having to store 5,000 books in your garage, you can print one book at a time. It's easy to make changes. And there are companies like Amazon's KDP, Ingram Spark, those will get your books distributed for you. So my personal preference between the two, I like my print books with Ingram Spark, and my Kindle edition, I go directly to KDP. I have a love-hate relationship with Amazon, as I think a lot of authors and publishers would tell you. And so that's my recommendation.
Well, I appreciate that advice because I had no way to tell people what to do. All right. So I know you talked just a moment ago about what's involved in self-publishing, but isn't it more about the promotion of the book? Like getting the book done is like the step one, but then you got to let the world know this book is coming out. And that's so much harder than writing the book, isn't it?
Well, you just went through a relaunch on your book. It is a ton of work. And I see so many authors think that they're done because the book has gone to print, right? And that's just beginning. So, you need to be building an audience. That's the bottom line. There's a reason the traditional publishers want authors who have an audience because they know the books are going to sell. So whether you do it yourself or you're going with the traditional publisher, we all need to be cultivating an audience, a tribe of influence, people that are going to want to buy that book the minute it comes out. And you have a lot of work to put in to get the word out.
I can't say amen enough. I mean, really, I tell people all the time, what the publisher gives you is paper and ink. You have to sell the book. And whether you do traditional publishing or self-publishing, you are going to sell every copy of that book. And what I like to tell people about books is, if you're thinking about writing a book, the first thing I want you to think about is what is it that you want this book to do for you? Because it is an expensive and painstaking process. And when I say it's expensive, I mean, you have to hire your own publicist. I remember when my book first came out in 2010, I wrote my own press release. They didn't even write a press release for me. So, I mean, hire your own publicist for 3 to 6 months. These are expensive things to do. And I'm not sure that the person, I meet so many people who tell me they have a book in them, right? And I'm always like, okay, well, what is it that you want this book to do for you? Because I just worry about people that, bet the farm on these books. And it's like the only people that get rich doing books is like Stephen King. You know what I mean? It's like, and so I tell people all the time, I said, books are rather expensive business cards. I mean, they can be. So with that, what tips do you have on, getting a book written? Like how do you get the book done?
Yeah. So, and I think it is a great business card. So if you're going to speak or do any of those things, you absolutely should have a book. And sitting down to write it sounds like a gigantic task, but it doesn't have to be that painful. So I think the key is to start with an outline, sit down and do the biggest brain dump and figure out what are the topics that you're going to cover in this book. I do this with a stack of index cards. I put every little detail, interview I want to include, piece of information, and I will spread it out on the floor, and then I will start to organize it. That becomes my outline. And then if you sit down and let's say you just set a goal to write 600 words a day, that's about 2 type pages. If you did that for 60 days, you'd have 36,000 words. Today, that's a shorter book, which are trendy. You're done. You've got a manuscript. So it's really, if you take it in bite-sized pieces, I think it's very doable to write a book.
I agree with you. When I worked on Become Your Own Boss the first time, back in 2008, 2009, I got up every morning and wrote from 5 to 7 a.m. before my family woke up, like before anybody started moving around. And that was like my time to work on my book. And I did it religiously. And that's how I got it done. Now, my book was 65,000 words, because back then that's what the contracts were for. And then, of course, after I got it done, they made me cut 5,000 words. But we don't want to go there. But one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is you have seen so many people struggle with book marketing. You've created some courses to help people, haven't you?
I have, yeah. So I created a book marketing master course. It's a really intense 6-week program, but it's going great. We've run it twice so far. We'll run it again this fall. And it really takes you through the entire process. It includes a workbook. And we created an optional certification program as well. We have a lot of publishing industry professionals out there. I wanted to see some consistent marketing practices. I was having a hard time recommending marketing consultants. So now folks are going through our program, and we also have a publishing master course and certification program as well. So both are an option, and we're thrilled to see so many people coming through them and really learning so much about the industry.
And the people that are taking your courses, you're like being able to make them like mega referrals like right away, right? Because I don't know about you, but people ask me for book editors and stuff all the time.
Yeah, we have recommended resources at nonfictionauthorsassociation.com. It's the most visited part of the website. And so all the certified pros get listed there. And we're already, within weeks of them going live, we started hearing, I'm getting clients. One of them landed her biggest client she's ever had. So I love hearing that. And plus, we want to be able to recommend people we feel comfortable recommending, right? So right. I feel really good knowing they have a process to follow.
That's great stuff. Well, listen, when we come right back on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we're going to talk more with Stephanie Chandler about the book business. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, your host, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I want to welcome you to Small Biz Lady University. Our mission here is to end small business failure. So all of the courses here are about two things: how to become your own boss or how to make money online. So that's what we do here. So whether you want to learn about email marketing and sales funnels, or you're ready to get started with social media selling, or if you're really just getting started with e-commerce, you might want to jump into our How to Sell and Market Online course. Either way, if you want to learn how to become your own boss and do it well, I have everything you need here at smallbizladyuniversity.com. If you have any questions or have any technical problems getting signed up, just email us at support@melindaemerson.com. Take care.
Welcome back. I'm here with my guest, Stephanie Chandler. She is the CEO of the Nonfiction Writers Association. All right, Steph, how early should you start promoting a book?
We talked about building an audience. I think that should start yesterday, last year. But the book itself, get a few months of a runway going. I think it's really fun to involve your social media audience. Maybe you're working on cover design and you can put them out there and have them vote. People love to participate. So start to kind of build that buzz, get people excited. But I like a 3-month runway, maybe at most. I don't think you need a lot more than that.
I think that's fair advice. And what are some of your favorite book marketing strategies?
I think one of the biggest underutilized opportunities for authors is podcasting. Go be a guest. There are probably millions of podcasts at this point. And podcast hosts tell me all the time, I need guests. Melinda, last week you said, I need a guest. I need a guest. So we need guests, right? And so this is a great opportunity, especially for nonfiction authors with a message, or if you, whatever your experience is, you can go be a guest on a podcast. You can also do the same thing with your local news. I really believe we should all be building an email list. In fact, if you gave me the choice between my email list and my Twitter account, I will take email every day of the week. Email is an asset nobody can take away from you. So these are some of the really big things that I want authors to focus on if you want to build a long-term career and actually sell some of those books.
I agree. All right, Steph, what is the best business advice that you've ever gotten?
I love this question. And I always flash back to the Silicon Valley when I got plucked out of customer support and put into a sales role with a $4 million quota. And I was sitting in the parking lot with the boss who recruited me. We were heading into a big.com. I won't say who, but you would know the CEO right now. And she looked at me and she said, "You walk in that room like you own it." And it was truly the best advice. And I don't view that as a fake it till make it. I view that as step into your confidence and the rest falls into place. And so I have found that to be really valuable, especially because I've done a lot of crazy things like launching an online conference before anybody was doing those types of things. And if you come at it feeling confident, other people respond to that. So it was really fun to talk about this, Melinda.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Stephanie. Up next, we're going to be talking about how to find free resources to grow your business. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to become a boss? Hi, I'm Melinda, Emerson, Small Biz Lady. Click the button below and take my free boss quiz. This assessment will help you learn your entrepreneur type and find the right business model for you. Get this information about the number one asset in your business. Yeah, that's you.
Hi, everybody. This is Melinda Emerson, and you are watching the Small Biz Chat podcast. I am back with my next guest, Bridget Brown. She is a mechanical engineer and owner of Pages and Post, a digital design agency based in Alabama. Brown is also a Verizon small business digital ready power user with over 40 self-paced modules on live events under her belt. Before founding Pages and Post in 2018, Bridget's professional career included various positions in the energy and aerospace industries. She earned her degree from the University of Mississippi, and she has an MBA from the University of Houston. All right, if you want more information, go to pagesandpost.com. Bridget, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me, Melinda.
All right, so tell us, how did you get into business? I want to know your origin story.
So I would say that I actually stumbled into the desire to have my own business. So one of my cousins was really interested in genealogy, so just researching our family history. And this cousin passed, and so I stepped into that role of doing the genealogy, helping to host family reunions. And as a part of that, I looked at a lot of obituaries of my ancestors, and I noticed a trend. I noticed that there were several family members who owned businesses. They had pizza shops, they had laundromats, funeral homes. One aunt, she sold clothes for the Jackson 5. And I thought, wow. And I guess coming up, I'm always imagined this straight route of college and then corporate world, and that was it, retirement. But I learned from my ancestors that I could have my own business. Education-wise, I do have a degree in engineering and I have a master's in business administration. So I decided to start my own business 4 years ago so that I can put my technical and my creative abilities together to form a digital marketing agency.
So what types of services do you provide?
So all business owners need certain assets. That's what I call them. They need the logo, they need the website, the social media, content flowing with frequency, and ads. And so Pages and Posts, we provide everything that the business owner needs for a good online presence. And we do logos, we do websites, social media content, Google ads, Facebook ads, and we also do brochures and presentations so that a business can have that cohesive look no matter where they advertise.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so who is your ideal niche target customer?
Ideal customer is a business that's probably at least 5 years in. So they're kind of out of that testing the waters period where they are set on their services or their products, and they are ready to go ahead and create that professional look and to reach their target audience in a more aggressive way.
So what types of tactics do you typically use to attract your customers?
Honestly, Melinda, so far it has been word of mouth. That has kept me going and at a very good rate these 4 years. I do some advertising. I do networking, but honestly, it has been word of mouth.
Well, I want to applaud you because if you have been able to sustain a business for 4 years, majority on word of mouth, that means you do good work because nobody would be talking about you and sharing your information if you did not do a great job. So I applaud you. And I think word of mouth referrals is a lost art. And I think it's something that more small business owners really could benefit from. Now, tell me, what kinds of struggles have you faced in your business?
Struggles, so many struggles. You know, in this early period, there's one of the main things that I had to really try to develop was pricing strategy. As a services business, I think that pricing can be really tricky because especially when you're in the beginning stage, you're kind of like, well, I don't know if they really see the value, or I don't know if I can charge as much as the competitors who have been out there for years and years. I don't know if I can charge that amount. And so it ends up can get you into a pickle if you don't do that pricing strategy correctly, because you can end up really underselling your services. So that has been the struggle. But what I did to get over that hump is to really look at my competitors and also making sure I have a pricing list so that I don't, talk myself down into having a discount for certain clients. So sticking to that pricing list and keeping up to date with competitors.
I think that's really important, but pricing sometimes comes down to confidence. And as women, sometimes we'll tell you the price and say, but I can work it out with you. We'll discount ourselves before the person has a chance to respond. So you have to be really, really careful with that. Now, your business was 2 years old when the pandemic hit. How did that affect your business?
So, I was already working remotely, but before the pandemic, I was able to get out and do networking on a regular basis. The pandemic shut all that down. And so it was all just, Zoom meetings and calls. That was a struggle because I needed that interaction with other business owners and with potential clients. So that was one of the things that I struggled with during the pandemic. However, the pandemic was really good for my business in particular because it created the need for business owners to get their ducks in a row. So to get their website online, get online, get their social media so that they could get to their target audience because they were no longer able to do that in person. Mm-hmm. So I would say my sales went up, my revenue went up during the pandemic. Because I was able, it's a hot demand service.
Well, I want to applaud you because a lot of people can't say that. But what kinds of resources have you sought out over the years really to support your business?
Yes, resources are so important because like many small business owners, really many minority small business owners, there's not a lot of capital up front. And so finding those resources have been very important. Some of the things that I've looked to particularly are grants, and it's also supplier diversity programs. A lot of companies are looking to partner with small businesses to get services and products, even more so now. And so just taking advantage of those connections to companies, getting in on government contracts, those have been the resources that I've tried to make sure I'm really paying attention to. And that's one of the things that made me interested in the Verizon Small Business Digital Ready program.
So tell me about that program. What does it offer and what's entailed with it?
I cannot say enough great things about that program. So the Small Business Digital Ready program is actually a series of online courses, also Ask the Expert webinars and office hours. So it's basically like a whole curriculum on how to operate a business. And I can't think of any subject of business ownership that it doesn't touch.
Right. And you have participated in quite a few of the courses and things, right?
Yes, I have. I was hooked from the first moment. So as an engineer, process is very important to me. Having structure and process is very important. So when I went onto the platform and went through the online course, my first online course, I was really impressed by the videos, by the job aids that are given at the end of each video. And then when I went to the first expert session and also the office hours, I realized that the facilitators of those sessions were actually the people who were in the videos in the online course. So I just felt like I was getting some one-on-one time with those presenters in the on-demand courses, and I was actually getting to speak with them just like we are today.
So what course would you say did you enjoy the most or had the most impact on your business?
I would say the Get Certified course was one of the ones that was most beneficial to me. That course opened my eyes to different certifications that were available. And that was the first time that I knew that there was a state level minority business certification. And so after I completed that course and talked to the facilitator of the course at the office hours, I was able to go in, find out how to apply for that certification. I believe I filled it out in probably like 2 to 3 hours. And in about 2 weeks, I had my certification. And I was like, wow, that was, so easy. And I never would have known about it if I hadn't been in the program.
Well, I think that's really, really valuable to say. One of the things that I also know about the Verizon program is that they have been very generous with grants for people who participate in that platform, right?
Yes. That was one of the first things that attracted me to the program. When I saw there was opportunity to receive a $10,000 grant, I said, oh, well, let me try to take a look at this opportunity. And so what the program does is that if you take at least 2 courses or attend 2 sessions, then you become qualified to apply for the grant. And I did apply for the grant, and it's a simple application, just like some of the ones that you would apply to for other business funding. So the application didn't take long to fill out, but then you're given that opportunity to be selected for that $10,000 grant.
Yeah, and my understanding is that they're about to roll out. I believe that they've made a commitment to fund $1 million worth of grants in 2022. And I believe starting April 25th through June, people will be able to start applying again. So if you take the 2 classes or participate in 2 of the mentoring sessions, you become eligible. So, everybody I think should be heading over to verizon.com/digital ready so that you can see what it's all about, because free money is free money, right?
Exactly. Yes. Highly recommended.
All right. Now tell me this. What is the best business advice that you have ever received?
I would say the best business advice is to be slow to hire and quick to fire. So hiring is one of the points in business that allows you to really scale your operations. And so if you do it too early, sometimes you can have to backtrack, because if you don't have the revenue to support the salaries, then you'll have to make rearrangements. And also you can come into situations where you hire someone that's not a great fit, and you can try over and over to try to do coaching and try to make it work out. But at a certain point, you do have to know when it's time to fire so that your business can survive.
All right. Well, I'm going to let that be your last word. Thank you so much, Bridget Brown. You are from Pages and Posts. And right now, what I want to do is bring back all of our guests. I want to bring back Liam Martin and Stephanie Chandler because we are going to do what I like to call my hit it and quit it panel. So let me tell you guys how this works. I'm going to ask each of you the same question. You're only going to have 30 seconds to answer, and you cannot repeat someone else's answer. Because if you do, I'm going to give you the cowbell, and I don't want to do that. So first up, Liam, you've been waiting the longest, so I'm coming to you first. Second, I'm going to come to you, Stephanie, and then to you, Bridget. All right, so let's jump into it. First question, what is your favorite podcast? Liam, what is your favorite podcast?
Other than this podcast right now, I would probably say Mixergy. He has interviewed over 2,000 business leaders for almost 15 years. It's one of the first podcasts ever, one of the best business-to-business podcasts I've ever listened to.
Love it. Love it. I'm a fan of that podcast as well. Stephanie, what's your favorite podcast?
I'm a Brene Brown super fan. I love her podcasts, both of them.
I love her books. I haven't heard her podcast, but I do love her. All right, Bridget, what is your favorite podcast?
My favorite one is the Digital Marketing Podcast. I listen to that quite often just so I can stay up on the trends of the industry.
That's with Ryan Dice, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I really like him too. He's great. All right, second question. Stephanie, I'm coming to you first, then you, Bridget, then you, Liam. What is your favorite business app? What is your favorite?
My favorite business app. I think Trello is super cool. It's really fun to create boards in Trello.
That's interesting. Trello makes me crazy, but I'm glad that you like it. All right, Bridget, what is your favorite business app?
Yes, I think everybody has their certain project management app that they like. So mine is Asana. I did try Trello as well, but Asana is the one that clicks for me.
Love it. Love it. All right, Liam, I know this is like a trick question for you, but what is your favorite business app?
Other than Time Doctor, I do like Trello and Asana. They're both great. But the one that I'm going to choose is an extension to Zoom, which is called Meetings Now. And what this app does is it will tell you how much everyone is talking inside of your meeting. So you've got a meeting with like 8 people and one person is actually talking 90% of the time. You can see that right in the extension and you can tell that person, hey, quiet, you got to let some other people talk.
Interesting. I have never heard of that, so I'm going to have to check that out. Bridget, next question is coming to you, then Liam, then Stephanie. What is your favorite old school marketing tip?
Old school marketing tip. I would say there's a lot of emphasis on digital advertising, but don't forget the snail mail, the print postcard mailers. They can be very successful. And so I've actually recently done that for a client. And yes, that's a way to go and another avenue to get more clients.
Love it. Love it. I'm a big fan of it. All right. Liam, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
Best tool on the face of the planet is your phone. It is the tried and true method to be able to get business in the door. If everything else fails you, call up 100 people and you'll probably come up with something.
I agree. Magic happens on the phone. My former sales rep used to say that. All right, Stephanie, what is your favorite old school marketing tip?
Well, I don't want the cowbell because Bridget beat me to it. I was going to say postcards, but I will say that I think that we should all be out speaking. Speak to your audience. And there's opportunities in your own backyard, Rotary Club, Chamber of Commerce, you name it. You can go and promote your business as a speaker, regardless of what your business is.
Love it. Love it. Love it. You are exactly right. All right. Last question, guys. Liam, I'm coming to you first, then you, Stephanie, then you, Bridget. What is your favorite business book you have ever read? Favorite business book?
Definitely 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. It shows you how to actually build a big business and not necessarily get caught in building a business, but instead owning one. which is a very interesting concept for a lot of people to get their heads around, but really important for me to learn at least a couple of years ago.
All right, Stephanie, I know this is a hard question for you, but what is your favorite business book you've ever read?
My brain hurts. I want to list like 12, but I'm going to go with Seth Godin's Tribes. I love the emphasis on the power of community. I think it really planted a seed for me in building a community and just had a lot of impact in my business in a lot of ways. He's just a wonderful writer anyway.
He is. He's written so many good ones. I mean, Purple Cow is one of my favorite ones from him. Bridget, what is your favorite business book?
Mine is Goals by Brian Tracy. I would say the power of having SMART goals wins every time and makes you so much more productive.
I love it.
Definitely has made me achieve more things.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite books is Disrupt You by Jay Samit. And I love that book because he says, in order to disrupt the world, start by disrupting yourself. That's one of my very favorite business books. And I buy it a lot for young people and give it away because I just feel like the mentality is right. Listen, thank you guys so much for coming on the Small Biz Chat podcast tonight. You guys have been awesome guests. Thank you to Liam Martin. Check out his remote work conference or his brand new book, Running Remote. Stephanie Chandler, CEO of the Nonfiction Writers Association. If you are thinking about writing a book, her organization is an invaluable resource. And thank you to Bridget Brown, owner of Pages and Posts. That is her digital agency based in Alabama, but she works with clients nationwide, I'm pretty sure. Thank you all so much for joining me for this latest episode of the Small Biz Chat podcast. I really enjoy doing this, and our mission is to end small business failure. If you're out here still working on your digital pivot, be sure to check out Small Biz Lady University and my brand new course, Social Media Selling. I want to give you the tools you need to finally start generating the money you deserve online. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. And I want to leave you with this. You never lose in business. Either you win or you learn. Good night, everybody, and God bless.